one other lady that since passed away would give me dental soap every month because of circumstances, because of how we grew up and there wasn't always money. We need to cater for all. We need to see how can we bring about unity, how can we bridge the gap between different classes, different race groups in order to effect that change. So I'm excited. People helped me. So you want to invest back and you want to help back, knowing that my story would not have been possible if people didn't come alongside me. And I think with especially in the art world, we need more people to come alongside artists to give them a hand up, to say how can we help you, how can we take you not only to the next level but plow back into your life. And even if you give someone a dental soap.
We began as an open mic.
Young creatives simply wanting to express ourselves.
As we supported each other, we started to witness the greatest within.
And without knowing, we grew into a talent hub.
As we began to detail our craft,
we found the courage to share our gift with the world.
From merchandise to the sold-out theatre productions.
To all the amazing people we met and collaborated with along the way.
The process of creating art helped us overcome our fears.
By teaching us
the power of art. We are here to tell you.
We're here to tell you.
We're here to tell you.
We are here to tell you.
We are here to tell you.
It's possible.
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 I'm Chad Isaacs, and this is Raw.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a very, very, very special guest in the house tonight. This man is an MC host. This man is a comedian. He's been on the stages with the biggest artists in Cape Town and South Africa. He has been on the biggest platforms such as the Baxter Theatre and many more. But he's also a politician. He's a very interesting guy. He's a gentleman. They call him the Harvey Dent of Cape Town, Mr. Reagan Allen.
Wow, I'm so happy to be here. When you get an introduction like that, you don't know if someone is actually talking about you.
So were you wondering who was that?
Yes, who is this amazing guy? But thank you so much for having me. I am delighted. Raw was my second official comedy experience.
Crazy.
And to be back here after so many times on the Raw stage, I am delighted to be here.
Can I just personally thank you for always so graciously agreeing to be on our stage. You know, I've seen you grow from that, you know, fresh comic to a professional comic who was on the biggest stages and rubbing shoulders with the best. And whenever we would communicate, you were always like a brother, like a friend. You advised me on so much different things. And you've always so graciously just agreed to be on the stage. So thank you so much for just being so humble in your approach, brother.
Thank you. I must thank you for giving artists, if I see all the banners, all the posters that Raw has put out over the many years.
Yeah.
You have given amazing people opportunity, people that has gone to do amazing stuff. So thank you also for what you do to
those kind words, brother.
to make art and to make Cape Town a better place.
Okay, let's stop lying and let's get down to the
truth. Here we
go. Brother, you've had an amazing journey. We've witnessed it. We've seen it. Your story is absolutely amazing. Can you tell us? You just highlight some of the milestones and more importantly for me, what was the motivation behind it?
I think one of the milestones was definitely being just able to speak. Growing up in Mitchell's Plain and growing up with a speech impediment made it difficult to speak, made it difficult to share your ideas or your thoughts. And if I look back to primary school, I was elected on my school's governing body, but it was a joke because Reagan is unable to talk. Crazy. Reagan was unable to literally chase a girl to go with him to the matric ball. And to now be able to speak, to be able to articulate myself in a way where people understand and people laugh, but not at me, with me.
100%.
So it's been a journey of where you get in life, and in the year 2018, 2017, I became more disillusioned because you're striving towards a certain goal. And someone told me, Reagan, you're funny. Why don't you try comedy? That same evening, I went to a comedy gig in Observatory.
Okay, Armchair.
The Armchair, which is known as the cradle
Yes, 100%.
of comedy, where Marc Lottering,
temple.
Stuart Baxter,
It's a temple of comedy, for
performed.
sure.
And I performed. I didn't die. And I was invited back. And then Raw invited me as well. And from there, just knowing that you are able to make people laugh, you are able to share a story without making fun of so-called colored people or people
100%.
like myself that grew up in Mitchell's Plain, but you're able to address the social ills, you are able to address bullying, you are able to address gangsterism in a meaningful way where people can
100%.
actually take note.
And shedding light on the matter.
Yes. And I've always tried to be clear that I want to do something different and building a brand around what I can do in my personal capacity to make Cape Town, South Africa, a better place. It was such a journey where in 2017, winning the Cape Town Comedy Club newcomer competition, which is ranked one of the top 10 in the world. And then obviously performing, like you said, at the Baxter with Raw and then with the Jive Funny Festival. We had 720 people every night for the entire month, which is amazing. Wow. And Marc Lottering was the headline. I was performing with amazing artists. We were in the same WhatsApp group, which blew my mind, knowing that I'm now able to express myself, but still share an idea. 2019 came about and I was nominated for a Savannah Comics Choice Award, one of the top 5. I wasn't the winner, the overall winner, but just to be nominated in the entire South Africa and not having performed in KZN, in the Eastern Cape and in other provinces. So it speaks to building a brand, speaking to comedians, speaking to people within the industry. That has been amazing. But for now, I still feel my life is irony personified. Because on the one side, it's politics, which is normally serious. And on the other side, it's stand-up comedy. One evening at the comedy club, I was performing. I went home and I prepped for an interview with ETV for 6 the Monday morning. And the interview was around gang violence and the murder rate increasing over weekends, especially over pay weekends. And someone actually saw me at the club and then getting ready for work on the Monday morning, seeing this guy talking about gang violence and talking about something that's serious. She didn't believe it. She probably thought her mind is playing with her. That time alcohol was still legal to drink anytime. So she probably thought that she had too much. But that's how life has taken me on a journey to not only fulfill, your own desires, your own passions, but also to meet people like yourself, the Raw team, other comedians within the industry. Has really been amazing.
Wow. Yo, brother, I think for everyone to know, Reagan Allen, they need to meet you in person. Right before the show started, you were telling a story, and everyone that's here in the room now was literally hanging on every word. And what is so great for me to see in your journey is the progression. Is that from that kid who could not talk to now having everyone sort of just holding on to hear what the next word is. Can you explain how you did that? Was there some techniques? Was there some tutoring? Was there? I'm not sure what your process was like.
I tracked it back to a burn mark on my stomach, which affected my nervous system at the age of 4. I literally set myself alight. I normally say I was lit since the age of 4. But people burn off the stitching.
Yes.
If your vest had its days, and I attempted to do it. So I set myself alight. My nervous system was shattered, shouting, screaming, and I hardly spoke. I could release my passions on the soccer field. I fondly remember playing soccer, and I could shout, I could scream, and I could do tons of stuff on the soccer field because of the adrenaline. And directly after the game, I would go into silent mode again because it's embarrassing. You are unable to speak properly. People make fun of you.
When you say unable to speak, do you mean stutter? Do you mean you just can't?
Yes, you stutter where it is so difficult that you just give up.
Okay.
And you don't want to talk anymore. My matric teacher, like I said earlier, wanted to organize a date for me to go to the matric ball. I just said no. Probably didn't say no. I probably just shook my head that I won't go. But in the year, 2 years after matric, I met a gentleman that played an amazing role and a pivotal role because growing up in Mitchell's Plain, my older brother took a different route
In life.
And my parents obviously thought that Reagan could end up in that same way.
When you say different route, do you mean like gangsterism, drugs?
Yes.
Sort of? Okay.
And he sadly passed away 4 years now.
Condolences, brother.
Thank you. He sadly passed away 4 years. And the amount of talent that he showed at the age of 18, I didn't show it. So there was little to no hope for Reagan. But a gentleman came alongside me, mentored me, assisted me, and there's breathing techniques that you can do. Obviously how you sit and your posture, but also trying to change your entire vocabulary because I started on certain words.
Okay.
And then I had to change my entire way of speaking so that I know that once the first and second word is vocalized, I'm able to then get a flow.
Crazy.
And I'm Afrikaans first language, and I remember starting sentences with N. Every sentence with N. I would say nothing, and I would say N, want toe gaan ons nou? En toe wat het gebeur? Because N was my gap filler to get the flow going.
Okay.
And it was my coping mechanism. People quickly picked it up. One guy called me Eno. He was very clever. He picked it up. But that is how you somehow guide yourself with these gap fillers without dealing with the real issue. Until someone came alongside me, taught me the breathing exercises, the techniques, and how I need to obviously
do you think it was a mental block? Was it like because of the trauma that you had? Was it a mental block, or was it also just like physical? You know, like a speech.
I love the word trauma because in our society, at times we don't talk about traumas.
100%.
We don't talk about childhood difficulties that many people face.
That everyone faces, I think.
And then it could manifest in a way that is not helpful to society at the end of the day. And it was trauma because you are now holding back, and I had to deal with tons of stuff in order to express myself. Hence, most of the comedy would come from a place where I would rather speak about myself, I would rather gun myself, but then change it around so that people can see. Oh, but there is hope. Hope is such a key word that you know that you can live in Mitchell's Plain, in Athlone, but you can still make a difference. Sadly, if I consider the lockdown crime stats, we had 64 people being murdered directly as a result of gang violence. And 59 were here in our province.
Crazy.
Which shows that many young people could venture into gangsterism, into a life of crime and drugs, but art and sport can pave a way where we are able to express ourselves in a meaningful way and contribute. So I enjoy doing what I'm doing. I love what I'm doing. I get up in the morning knowing that I can make a difference. I can help someone, or I can contribute meaningfully. Otherwise, I would have probably been destructive.
Bro, I think what you've said, towards the end there, brother, I think that hit a soft spot with me, because I definitely think that there's something specific in art and sport that doesn't exist in many things in the world, because I think if we get our young people in the state of creativity, you're not hungry, you are not tired, you are not afraid, you are confident, you are courageous, and you are kind and compassionate, and you have a form in which to express yourself, and all that negativity, comes out in a very positive way, in a positive manner. And I think it's so important for society, for government to realize how important art is to our young people, and for the people that are in the arts industry, right? To also, mentor, like someone mentored you, and take the guys under the wing and show them art is not about being famous. It's not about being rich. It's about having a platform to express yourself through creativity. I'm not saying that you should starve every night, but I am saying, like, be real, be authentic. The art needs to mean something, and I think when that's what you're saying, like that's what sport and art does. It allows these, individuals that have gone through so much trauma simply just to process it. In a very, very productive manner. And I think it's been overlooked. And I would just like to thank you for saying what you're saying. For someone, of your status. I mean, we're talking a lot about your comedy career, but you were very much qualified politician, that I'm going to touch in with my next question. So being a comedian on the one hand, and now being a politician, right? Can you tell me which one, in your own personal opinion or observation, do you sort of sway more to, and how has it affected your life?
I hope that my answer won't disappoint you, but I see politics as a vehicle towards effective change.
100%.
That if government works well and works for the people, a lot can be done, and the art and comedy can play a vital role in building society, building resilience within youngsters, and setting the mood to get us through difficult days. Comedy, especially, our entire culture goes around how we can laugh at difficult times that can carry us through heavy moments. 100%. But I am unable to answer the question effectively, because I wouldn't want to be known as a politician, because there's a lot of connotations that goes with being a politician.
Of course.
And there's also a lot of connotations that goes with being a comedian. So I wouldn't want to be known as either. That's a comedian or that's a politician. If something should happen to me and I pass on tomorrow, I would like people to remember, oh, Reagan was a good guy.
100%.
Reagan helped. Reagan assisted, without the connotations, without the labels, because I think it's important to see us for who we are. We come from an environment where apartheid ruined the lives of many people. It created such a backlog in terms of where our people could have been. And to now bridge the gap, and we know it's still
we're seeing
very
the echoes.
unequal.
We're seeing the echoes.
We can still see that it's still evident in our society, the effects of the injustice, the effects of apartheid. So in that way, I would want to contribute in a meaningful way. And I must say this. I say this with the utmost respect to people that are happy with calling themselves politicians, because I know we have amazing politicians that have sacrificed most of their life in order to serve. And we have comedians that are doing everything in their power in order to bring about change, to change opinions, and to give back. So with all due respect to them, I'm happy for them. But in my personal view, I would want to be remembered as, I made a change, I made a difference.
100%.
And that somehow my life represents a beacon of hope to others.
100%, brother.
So,
and I think you've the way that you've answered the question is just testimony to your character, because I think, to sum up what you've said, is titles and governments don't create change, people do. And I think you are one of those people. So I definitely think, and I told you off air, and I'll say it on air as well, like, I think that you're the Harvey Dent of Cape Town, bro. You really mean well, right? You really have a good heart, and your intentions are are so pure, and I think that we need more people like you. And there are great comedians, there are great politicians in our society. And obviously, sometimes, like with the arts, it gets a bad name. There's negative connotations, and the same with government. But it's still important to have faith in people.
Yes, I think people is probably our best commodity. And if we invest in people, people's then able
And
to
the right people.
In the right people, people are then able to turn their lives around. I think we have also become, to a large extent, very selective. And I think that should be broken, because we need to cater for all. We need to see how can we bring about unity? How can we bridge the gap between different classes, different race groups, in order to effect that change? So I'm excited. I'm humbled by the sentiment that you are expressing, because at times I still feel inadequate. I still feel that I need to do more. I need to stretch myself even more, because you grew up in a certain way, and being a person of color, it brings you to a point that we need to prove ourselves. And it's easier to somehow raise the negativity or the stuff that's wrong in our community than highlighting what is good. So it's been a journey, but it's what I signed up for.
100%.
I think it's become my motto that, no, this is what I signed up for, because I love giving back, because I was helped. If someone didn't come to Mitchell's Plain and say, Reagan, you are potentially going to die, because directly after matric, I moved to a children's home in Bridgetown, and I lived at GC Williams' house, and we did work with street kids, and we were equipping them, educating them, taking them to a camp. From the camp, we would then try to get them to the home. From the home, we want to reintegrate them with their families. And I've seen how that has been a success. Not everyone lands up back home, but there were success stories. But if someone didn't come to my house and saw that Reagan could be making the wrong choices, the wrong decisions, people paid for my studies out of their own pockets.
Crazy.
People, I told my wife, we listened to a lady on Sunday, and she was saying a whole lot of nice stuff about me. But what she didn't say was that at the age of 17 and 16, when I went to youth, and I would get a packet from her, and there was groceries in the packet. And one other lady that since passed away would give me Dettol soap every month, because of circumstances, because of how we grew up, and there wasn't always money. And knowing that sacrifices had to be made, people helped me. So you want to invest back, and you want to help back, knowing that my story would not have been possible if people didn't come alongside me. And I think with, especially in the art world, we need more people to come alongside artists to give them a hand up, to say, how can we help you? How can we take you not only to the next level, but plow back into your life? And even if you give someone a Dettol soap, because that was the only thing I had living at GC Williams' house at the time.
Crazy.
And it was at times embarrassing that you are at youth and the girl you smack is there. And you are now in a different environment, you're in a safe environment, and you are doing life skills or whatever you are doing. And then after youth, you are walking home with 2 packets of groceries. And
deodorants and stuff.
Everyone knew it's because there's not a lot of food at Reagan's house, or there's not this or not that. But that somehow, I would like to believe it builds character. But now you want to obviously plow back, because if I must list each and every one that has journeyed with me, that has helped me, I could potentially talk for the rest of the evening. but it's born out of that I have been helped. I want to help.
Bro, and I mean, prior to this, and I never knew it was actually that hectic for you, bro. So it makes me admire you and your journey even more. And I think, you know, what you've mentioned is just the power of just being kind and compassionate and caring and loving towards people. The difference it can make. No one needed to give you those groceries. No one needed to come to your house and mentor you on how to speak properly. But the impact that it made on you, and now you are paying it forward to others, is tenfold. And I think, you know what, we need to realize also, you know, just as people, that with regards to life, it shouldn't be about things. It shouldn't be about, okay, I need to live there, I need to drive this car. It shouldn't be about destinations. It should definitely be about journeys and processes. And like you said, you know, like, and what I loved about what you said, because you were so vulnerable, it's about getting better. Because you were like, I still feel like, and that is a good feeling, the feeling of uncertainty and adversity and you know, not being sure about everything, you know, is a sign that we need to put in the work. And you know, we mustn't take it personal. It's a process that life throws us to get better. It's a challenge, right? But we also need to be kind and compassionate to people and pay it forward. And I just love the way that, I mean, while you were speaking, for someone to have such a difficulty growing up, not only you know, financially, you know, in your environment, but I mean, just like you couldn't communicate with people, and for you to not only overcome the financial barrier, but also to be a person who now is considered an influencer in society in terms of your space in parliament, is so important for us as people, you know. And I want to commend you on that, my brother. Like there's not a lot of people like you out there. And please continue to do the amazing work that you're doing. Dude, I want to get into some comedy questions.
Yes.
Because we went like very serious
yes,
now.
now we can have fun.
Yeah, now we can have fun. This is what I want to know about comics. So we threw a lot of raw shows with a lot of comedians, right? So because for those of you who don't know, what we basically do is the comics will have a conversation with them before. They'll ask you how long the set. You tell them 10 minutes. They'll say, okay, cool, flash me at 8. Now, normally if the comics are doing not so well and we flash them, they end pretty early. But I've noticed when they are doing quite great and we flash them at 8, they normally go to about 15. So my question for you is, do you guys, if you're having a really, really good set and you're not dying on stage, do you deliberately ignore the flash?
To the comedians watching or listening, they would agree that yes, you wouldn't want to stop, because it could be a moment where you try new material or you are really enjoying it. And I think especially now, once we get back into comedy
live
and back into live shows, people will probably want to do it all the more and to ignore the flash, because you see it at times. And I've been to some comedy shows where the flash has been showed once, twice, even more times, and then the music will just go up. Great. So you just wait for the pause and then you turn up the music. But yes, I think you become alive, and once you're in that space, you wouldn't want to stop. You want to carry on because you are now feeding off the crowd.
The comedians that I speak to, right, they tell me when they're having a good set, it's a feeling second to none. When people are, I think it would be the equivalent of writing a song and performing it live and people singing the words back to you. I think the laughs would probably mean the same thing in a different art form. The comedians that I chat to say it's like, because you must remember, comedians don't. The process is that they try jokes that they wrote down, and it doesn't always work for different crowds, and they try to, like, you know, sort of like work on jokes till it gets to the point where no matter where they perform, the jokes always land, right? Because that's a good joke. Doesn't matter who's listening, it's always funny. So you're going to have nights where you have bad sets where they call it you dying on stage. So when you do have that set and it's like super, super funny and people are reacting and laughing and crying and screaming and shouting, it's pretty special. I'd like to imagine.
You feel on top of the world. Someone told me that once you are doing extremely well, it is best to have a final joke that you know you can end off on, that you know you will then take the crowd to a next level. And even if you go over time and you didn't do that joke yet, you will try to get it in because you don't want to miss out on that joke. So it does make sense in my mind that you are going on, and now you are doing it, but you can still leave them wanting more.
100%.
So without trying to do everything, but leaving them wanting more, where you can at least come back.
I think that is the key. What you said, I think that is the key in art in general. And that's something we try to promote at Raw. And that's why we kind of timed like the space, like the space for Raw was basically like your singers and your bands would get like 7 or 8 minutes. So they'll normally do like 2 songs. Your beatboxers will get like 5 minutes. Your dancers will get like 4 minutes. Your poets will get like maybe like 4 minutes, 1 or 2 pieces. Because you want the audience, to give you that reaction, because that's the reaction of live is actually what we want, and that reaction you want it to climax, and then you want the performer to leave and the audience wanting more. That's like the perfect performance. It's always with singers. I always found it very strange where they would get a great reaction for the first song and not for the second one, and then I would always think, should they have swapped the songs, maybe do the cover first and the original second, or the original, and that's always interested me, is the reaction of crowd. So when you're on stage, my question for you is, when you're on stage and you feeling the laughs, right? What does the reactions do for you personally as a comic?
I think once the first joke land, then you feel more comfortable on stage. You feel that you can now say what you want to say. You are controlling the room because people are actually listening. People are wanting to not miss out on a joke. And once you hear the first laugh, it brings to a point of you would want to maintain it. Because I love to see comedy as a monitor. Say you're in hospital and there's a monitor that's going up and down, so you can take any audience on a journey where you can take them to a high and then you bring them down and up and the whole time, but you wouldn't want to die. I've learned that in dying, you probably learn the most. How
in life and comedy.
Yes, how not to do it.
Damn it, we were wrong.
how to change your tone. I've found that doing an act, even facial expressions, the pause when you do the joke, how you set it up, all contributes, and you only get that by doing it live, by feeding off the audience. And hopefully soon, Cape Town and South Africa will be back to where we're able to feed off. Because at times the joke might not be the best, but there's one lady that is going crazy, and others are laughing. It might not be for the joke, but because of that environment, people can feed off it, and it's amazing for artists. You feel on top of the world.
And I think, like obviously, like the shows are very tough to do right now because of the limited amount of people that are allowed, including crew. It's like it's not feasible for event coordinators to throw shows unless you do it like with you have the right people and the right equipment, and you have the right experience to execute on the shows. So your general shows are not going to be as lucrative as it was previously. It's still not the same. It's not the same without the people. It's like watching soccer without the fans. Like they've even now automated the sound of the fans just to make it. Because I've watched a few games where they didn't put the sound in it, and it's not a good watch, to be honest with you. So
I agree with you fully, but I must say, watching Liverpool lift the league,
it was sad. It was extremely sad for me, brother.
It was amazing. I didn't care about the fans, but it was amazing. But I fully agree.
Yeah, I never watched that, and I would never like to. Okay. No, congratulations to all the Pool fans out there. I suppose it was well deserved. But watch United, we're coming. But that's enough about soccer. Listen, brother. With regards to to, you've obviously have this beautiful balance of comedy and being in politics in terms of the way that you see the world, right? So you kind of like, you understand the seriousness of topics, but you're also allowed to sort of serve it in a very comedic fashion. So my question for you, bro, is for creatives out there that are looking, to get into the industry, that are looking for a helping hand. Sometimes, the problem is, my own personal experience with Raw is like, money is a problem, bro. Like I would even just really talented artists not having the money to Uber to a Raw event to perform. I've encountered that so much times, and sometimes if we had the right budget, we would actually pay for the artist to get at the venue where we could. And it was, and my question for you is, how can, government and organizations assist these artists? How can these artists approach these organizations, for funding and investment and support?
Very good question. I think the one thing I've seen in the art world is that as artists, we are passionate, we are committed, but it's very difficult to be passionate if you are hungry. It's very difficult to be passionate if you are really struggling even to just get to an event. So that is all very clear, and funding is needed, resources is needed. I know here in the city of Cape Town, I would encourage artists the simplest way would be to contact their ward councillor, because via the ward councillor they would be able to access funds, because there is a grant in aid funding scheme that can go via your councillor to the sub-council, which then can allocate funds to an artist. But also we have a mayoral committee member who is responsible for art and for artists here in the city of Cape Town, who is also able to then adjust budgets to see how can we really make a difference to help an artist. There's also funding for bigger organizations, whereby a bigger organization will then approach the city of Cape Town in order to put on a show, in order to do a production of sort. And there could be funding for that. So
depending on the pitch and the
yes,
100% the concept.
And I think in the city of Cape Town, they have developed a more open flow whereby people can approach. And obviously, I would hope that that is being received once an artist goes. In the Western Cape government, our relief funding program has since stopped now, because that was an application process. But even in arts and culture in the Western Cape, funding can be applied for via organizations to see how can we contribute to art. There's been some amazing programs where X amount of artists from all over the province were given training in sound, in vocals, in putting on their own production. And we've seen some amazing people taking hold of the opportunities. I think the one thing I hate seeing is when we talk about an opportunity, but we don't have the means to access the opportunity.
100%.
Which then leaves you, what more can be done? How can we reach out more to artists to see this is, you need to apply. You need to do A, B, and C in order to get the money.
I think in my own personal experience, brother, and that's beautiful that you've shed that light on that funding and investment and support. It's very important that the people out there know, you know what's available. But I think just from a administrative and a mentoring kind of, if there's anyone listening out there that's passionate about helping young creatives, and you have a very strong administrative or business background, just saying, okay, cool, like the funding is available. This is how you apply for it. This is the criteria. Okay, so register, do this, do that, do that. You send the funding, and even if you don't get it next year, you'll be able to get it the following year. I think information and that guidance, it's like a parent. A parent can't like do the homework and write the test for you, but they can guide you to say, okay, cool, this is the reason that you must do it, and this is the consequence if you don't. That sort of mentorship is very much lacking, because when I talk to other organizations and artists, they don't even know that it exists. Their notion is what they see on the news, and with the perception of that government is not supporting artists, but there is actually in reality there is these funds and these systems in place to support our artists.
What I can do as a commitment is to that if anyone reaches out.
This is brother. This is real.
Yes. So what I can do is that I can then facilitate that conversation.
Oh, beautiful.
Between an artist and the relevant mayoral committee member to see what can be done in order to access the funds.
What a G.
I can offer
not a
that.
gangster but a gentleman, as Jack Carson would say. Brother, that would be amazing, because I think that sort of process needs to be managed by the right people, where we're taking the artist, because the gap between the funding and the investing, even from corporate where the money is, and the artist, there's such a big gap, and we find that when I came into the industry, Reagan, I always thought for the longest of time that there's a lack of opportunity, and maybe to a certain degree, probably, but the main thing is there's a lack of access to the opportunities, because most of the opportunities are staying with the guys that have the knowledge of how to access the opportunities, right? So you'll find these small groups of people that have this knowledge, that have the experience, that to their credit have the skill set to execute on those opportunities. But I still feel in order for the industry to get better, there needs to be this form of management and succession where we're helping each other to grow the industry, and in the long run, therefore lucrative for everybody.
If I love what you are saying. If one comedian is excelling, he's paving a way for other comedians. 100%. We've seen what Trevor Noah has done for the entire South Africa.
Yes.
So if we see comedians doing well or singers doing well, it can only help the industry.
Yes.
And sadly, what I've picked up is that because of the lack of, at times, if you want to say, the business sense or the know-how or how to build your brand, if that is missing, artists that is very capable could be missing out. So that's always key, to see how can we help someone to also build his or her brand, put them in touch with the right people, but also then facilitate a process where they are able to access resources.
100%. And I think also, there needs to also be a change of mindset from the artist, whether it be developing a semi-established or established artist, that we need to get out of the scarcity mindset, and when you and obviously it's because you grew up a certain way and you've sort of just adapted to your surroundings, and when you're in that mindset, it's like, I'm going to hold on to this and not share it, because if I let it go, I might not have tomorrow. And it's understandable, but you don't build communities and societies that way. Like that lady gave you that 2 bags of groceries to go home, and the way that you've been able to give it back tenfold is a microcosm of what should happen in the arts industry, is where instead of us holding on to this information and knowledge, that we are sharing it with each other to make each other better, to grow the industry, so that at the end of the day we can all reap the rewards.
We have enough people in Cape Town,
talented people,
yes, that can support the art. We don't need to fight, or we don't need to say that is my crowd, or I'm going to take all the funds coming from a certain avenue. But there's enough people, and I firmly believe that there's a core group of people that has that sense, that has that knowing that we need to pay it forward, we need to give back. So I firmly believe that here in the city, artists after this will potentially group together. Earlier on, we were talking about when artists were coming together saying, can I be on your podcast? Can I be on your Instagram live story, etc. Where we've seen people come together, group together to see how can we
collaborate,
help and collaborate. So I think that is going to be a very interesting journey for many people.
Yeah, and I think, brother, if you need my help in any way, shape, or form, because through Raw, I've on my WhatsApp alone, and not to be conceited in any way, shape, or form, but I have really influential people on my WhatsApp. I know some of them personally in terms of built good relationships. I have artist base of probably 1,500, just like, you know, musicians, beatboxers, singers, rappers, dancers that's been on the Raw platform or has tried, you know, and auditioned. So if we could connect these guys, right, with the guys who are, you know, just maybe managing this fund or will be able to assist these guys in any way, shape or form. For me, even if it's a piece of advice, because just a piece of advice can click something and this person can change their focus and now head in the right direction instead of taking paths that we've all knocked our heads. I think that form of succession, learning from each other's mistakes, is so important for our artists moving forward.
Now, within the next coming days or the next hour, as soon as I get home, I'll put you in touch with the relevant people.
Look at that.
How can we?
This guy's a G.
Because if we consider that there should be enough resources, there's enough people that need it. How can we make sure that the right people are connected?
100%.
So I'm excited.
Brother, like this is a concept that I had, and I'm gonna run it on air because for me, change is more important than credit. I've come to the point where I'm so passionate and invested in this industry that the credit doesn't matter to me anymore. It's really about change. And my idea is, and if anyone wants to start this idea, you can take it. It's yours as long as you do it with the right mindset and the right you know, intention. And my idea, Reagan, is imagine, let's say, you could get a government artist. I'm not sure if this exists, but this is the idea. You get a government artist, right? They have a contract with the government, you know, like the government employs people. They say, okay, cool, you are now. This is the criteria. You either needed to study or you needed to pass, and you would come for the audition, and then we would sign you based on your capabilities, based on your talent, right? But there would be a rating system because obviously you need to grow. There needs to be some sort of metric for growth, you know, like you would do in your KPIs in a corporate industry. There would be something like that, obviously, incentive to grow, kind of wise. And how it would work, Reagan, is the government said, okay, rule number 1, you'd have to be a full-time performer, right? So now people can quit their jobs because what are they getting? They are getting pension, they are getting they're getting medical aid, they're getting provident fund, they're getting all of these benefits, right? And they're getting, let's call it hypothetically a 15k salary, right? And the agreement would be, okay, like these are you would have to maybe play a certain amount of events for the city for free, right? And then thereafter there would be a payment, or maybe just whatever we want, you perform for free, and whatever you make on the side, that's yours. You're going to have to run that through your own business or whatever the case may be. But I think if the government then has something like that in place, right? Because now the first thing what we're going to do is, if we have this platform, we're going to get all the creatives. Here's your email address, reagan.allen at capetown.gov.za. And everyone is going to have access to everyone. So now the first thing that we're doing is we have access to each other as artists, as creatives. So now when we put a project together, it's not hard because we have a list of beatboxers, of videographers, and I think, like, if we have a system like that in place where people know that they can now be fully creative without having to worry about the money, I think that's when we're going to see the best art.
I would agree that once you take worry and stress off the table, you are more able to flourish. You are 100%. Able to then apply yourself better. And I'm now at
so hard to create an empty stomach.
Yes, I'm now at the stage where I feel that no idea is too crazy. And obviously ideas need to be fleshed out. It needs to be discussed. But no idea should be crazy enough. 2020 has been a roller coaster
for everyone,
and rough for many people. And ideas should be contested. Ideas should be debated in a way where we can come to a logical conclusion on what is best. So thank you for sharing your idea.
Yeah, please. I'm going to send you this specific clip and then just go speak to the guys. Come on, Reagan, speak to the guys and get back to me.
No, it's a if you. If you consider,
I don't think
sports do it to a large extent,
and I think it's not a if you look at what Discovery does with Vitality, use that as a concept, the incentivized program, right? If you want a specific, so my example would be, if you're tired of musicians and artists coming late, then you would decentivize something. So you deduct points, or you're not allowed to do something, because now there's a consequence, and now they would act better because they'll be rewarded for coming on time and coming to soundcheck and those sort of things. It's feasible. The government says, okay, cool, what we're going to do is we're going to throw this massive party. So yes, they're funding probably millions in salaries, right? But firstly, they're getting kids off the street. Now you're going to see drops in crime. You're going to see drops in maybe domestic violence, because the people are no longer angry. They are now able to express themselves. What you're going to see is, you're going to see the government now saying, okay, Cape Town Stadium, we've got the connection, here's the artist, we don't have to pay them, right? And because the contract says they have to perform for free for maybe for a certain amount of events, or whatever the tease is, and the city makes their money back from the salaries that they're paying. With art, it's possible. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not saying it's just about the government just giving out money. You can corporatize and monetize the system so that it's beneficial to everybody.
I love the last comment, especially if you see how it's not only government, but you can get companies,
brands,
on board
and you show it. You do an online thing, and you get brands. Brands can put up banners, and everyone wins. It's possible.
We have enough, tons and tons of people, companies and the CSI projects, to see how can government and companies come together and have a private-public partnership to see what is best
and
for...
no better way through art. No better way through art, Reagan. My man,
I love the idea.
And that's where it ends. No, I'm joking. Brother, I could speak to you for absolute hours. Hours. We're running a little bit short on time, but we can go a little bit. But before I ask my last few questions, please tell the people where they can find you.
On social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, it's Reagen. Allen. I tend to think that I'm a walking typo.
I think I'm dyslexic as well.
Because Reagan is often spelled
with an
A-N or O-N. Even though a fun fact is that Ronald Reagan was elected to his second term, and my parents didn't know what to name me, so they named me after him. So maybe that's where the political aspect comes in. 100%. But on social media, I love engaging with people, because you are fostering relationships, knowing that how can we help one another, because it's a long road 100%. And we need people. So
100%, but I mean, just our relationship now, like, I mean, when we got you on the Raw stage, I mean, it could be seen as Raw doing you a favor, because you were an unknown comic in any way, shape. I mean, it was great for us that you made it and gave us so much exposure down the line. But I mean, look at that. I maybe helped you out in the beginning, and now you're going to make my system of artists come through.
And it's like that, paying it forward.
100%.
When I think we live in a society where it's easier to play a role when you know that who you're working with. That we are not, because time and time again, people are in it for all the wrong reasons. But if you've walked the journey with people, you know at least what is their heartbeat, and the intentions are pure. So I'm excited. Yeah. But once again, thank you for having me here. You and your team rock. And
thank you, brother.
It's been such a journey, and I'm looking forward to the next invite.
100%. It's tomorrow at 44 and long. No, I'm joking.
Okay. I would have to discuss with the wife.
Of course, I know that. I know that. A funny joke that I saw, I think it was on one of those WhatsApp family groups, was when this guy comes to this priest and says, "Father, like, I have this voice that keeps telling me things and what to do, and it's controlling my life. Am I possessed?" And the priest says, "No, sir, you're married."
Exactly.
So, I thought that was quite funny. So brother, let me ask you the last question, and this is the question I asked all the guests, because it's so important for us to understand what's the way forward, especially during this pandemic and the new normal. How do we make this creative industry a better place for everyone?
Firstly, we need people to really commit. I think once we really commit, we are then able to see that stuff that we never planned for. There's a quote I love, and it was written in the 1800s. It says that once you commit, acts of all unforeseen circumstances will then fall into place. Stuff that you never imagined that could happen will now happen. And I've seen it personally. You commit to the first act, and then stuff fall into place, because we never have the full picture. We never know how the road will eventually, where the road will eventually lead us. So I would encourage people to commit. And once you commit, you then see doors opening. Not all the doors may open, but you know that doors are.
But you'll see progress, right?
You'll see the progress, and it's easy to give up, and it's easy to blame. And to say because of circumstances, or to put the blame at someone else's feet. But I would encourage people to commit. If you are still listening now and you've made it, this has been the worst time for many people in Cape Town, for many people in South Africa. So commit towards continuing the journey and seeing doors open. If I consider how you commit to one thing, and one classic example would be where the politics. I committed that I wanted to make a difference, and then doors. I never imagined I would eventually become a MP, but I see doors opening, and slowly but surely you are now walking on this journey. And then, if you track the days looking backward, one of my favorite quotes from Steve Jobs is that you can only connect the dots moving backward. And if I must look back and I connect all the dots, it was because of a simple commitment. And then I could connect it also. So commit, and then in a year's time, you can be on Raw and you can share
100%.
backward.
Basically, what Reagan was saying, life is like a game of dumps. You can only connect the dots backwards.
Yes.
Brother, it's been an absolute pleasure. It's been a blast. I've learned so much. I'm sure the people out there have learned so much. Keep doing what you're doing, but most importantly, keep being who you are.
Thank you.
This is the Raw Podcast. My name's Chad Isaacs.
Thank you so
keep
much.
shining.
Rock, baby, and it's rock, baby.